In order to safeguard security, you create authority. Isn't that so? To receive comfort, you must have someone or some system to give you comfort. To have security, there must be a person, an idea, a belief, a tradition that gives you the assurance of security. So, in our attempt to find security, we set up an authority and become slaves to that authority. In our search for security, we set up religious ideals that we, in our fear, have created. We seek security through priests or spiritual guides whom we call teachers or masters. Or again, we seek our authority in the power of tradition, social, economic, or political. We ourselves individually have established these authorities. They did not come into being spontaneously. Through centuries, we have been establishing them, and our minds have become crippled, perverted through their influences. Or suppose that we have discarded external authorities, then we have developed an inner authority which we call intuitional, spiritual authority, but which to me differs little from the external. That is, when the mind is caught up in authority, whether external or inner, it cannot be free, and therefore it cannot know true discernment. Hence, where there is authority born of the search for security, in that authority are the roots of egotism. Now, what have we done? Out of our weakness, our desire for power, our search for security, we have established spiritual authorities. And in this security, which we call immortality, we want to dwell eternally. If you look at that desire calmly, discerningly, you will see that it is nothing but a refined form of egotism, where there is a division of thought, where there is the idea of I, the idea of mine and yours. There cannot be completeness in action, and therefore there cannot be the understanding of living reality. But, and I hope you understand this, that living reality, that totality, expresses itself in the action of individuality. I have explained what I mean by individuality, the state in which action takes place through understanding, liberated from all standards, social, economic, or spiritual. That is what I call true individuality, because it is action born of the fullness of understanding, whereas egotism has its roots in security, in tradition, in belief. Therefore, action induced by egotism is ever incomplete, is ever bound up with ceaseless struggle, with suffering and pain. These are a few of the impediments and hindrances that prevent man from realizing that supreme reality, that living reality you can understand only when you have freed yourself from these hindrances. The freedom of completeness is not in the escape from bondage, but in the understanding of action, which is the harmony of mind and heart. Let me explain this more clearly. Most thinking people are intellectually aware of many hindrances. For instance, if you consider such securities as wealth, which you accumulate as a protection, or spiritual ideas in which you try to take shelter, you will see their utter futility. Now, if you examine these securities, you may intellectually see their falseness. But to me, that intellectual consciousness of impediment is not full awareness at all. It is merely an intellectual conception, not a full consciousness. Full consciousness exists only when you are aware, both emotionally and mentally, of these hindrances. If you are thinking of these hindrances now, you are probably considering them only intellectually. And you say, tell me a way by which I can get rid of these impediments. That is, you are merely trying to conquer impediments, and thereby you are creating another set of resistances. I hope I have made this clear. I can tell you that security is futile, that it has no significance, and you may intellectually admit this, but as you have been accustomed to struggle for security, when you go from here, you will merely continue that struggle. But now, against security, thereby you merely seek a new way, a new method, a new technique, which is but a renewed desire for security in another form. To me, there is no such thing as a technique for living, a technique for the realization of truth. If there were such a technique for you to learn, you would merely be enslaved by another system. The realization of truth comes only when there is completeness of action without effort. And the cessation of effort comes through the awareness of hindrances, not when you try to conquer them. That is, when you are fully conscious, fully aware in your heart and mind, when you are aware with your whole being, then through that awareness, you will be free from hindrances. Experiment and you will see. Everything that you have conquered has enslaved you. Only when you have understood an impediment with your whole being, only when you have really understood the illusion of security, you will no longer struggle against it. But if you are only intellectually conscious of hindrances, then you will continue to struggle against them. Your conception of life is based on this principle. Your striving for spiritual achievement, spiritual growth, is the outcome of your desire for further securities, further aggrandizement, further glory, and hence this continual and ceaseless struggle. So I say, do not seek away a method. There is no method, no way to truth. Do not seek a way, but become aware of the impediments. Awareness is not merely intellectual, it is both mental and emotional. It is completeness of action. Then, in that flame of awareness, all these impediments fall away because you penetrate them. Then you can perceive directly, without choice, that which is true. Your action will then be born of completeness, not out of the incompleteness of security. And in that completeness, in that harmony of mind and heart, is the realization of the eternal.